Welcome back.
Hey, Stanley.
Yeah, George?
How'd you like your own TV show?
Hey, I got something to mail you out.
Oh, you be careful now, you hear? Before you go and say something you're going to regret for the rest of your days.
Like what? Like the wrong kid died?
Oh, no!
Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of The Wrong Podcast Died. I have so many podcasts, I can't remember which one this is, but this is, which one was it again, Ron?
It's Groundhog Day.
I feel like this is deja vu. Have we been here before?
Yeah, yesterday and tomorrow and the day after.
Day after that and the day after that. And how many days did Bill Murray spend in Punxsutawney, wherever the hell he was?
It's a little bit of a toss-up because at one point, Harold Ramis says it was 10 years. Then he went back and said, well, to gain all these skills, it would take 30 to 40 years.
Wow. I thought it was just like a month or two, but 30 to 40 years? Lord, and never aged a day. So we're talking about the 1993 American fantasy romantic comedy directed by Harold Ramis from a screenplay by him and Danny Rubin starring Bill Murray, Andy McDowell, and Chris Elliott. It tells the story of a cynical television weatherman covering the annual Groundhog Day event in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, who becomes trapped in a time loop, forcing him to relive February 2nd repeatedly.
It's a crazy film, but it's one of my favorite of Bill Murray's. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we might have some differences of opinion on this one. It's weird, though. They released it after Groundhog Day.
So there was a special showing February 2nd of 93 in Du Bois, Pennsylvania.
Why didn't they show it in Punxsutawney?
Well, they probably didn't have a theater. I don't think Punxsutawney is a very big town because they didn't even film it there. They filmed it in Illinois.
Yeah, and I've been to Woodstock, Illinois. It's up by Chicago. They used the Cherry Tree Inn bed and breakfast in Woodstock. That's where he wakes up every day. And the old jail in the bowling alley. And if you go to Woodstock, Illinois, there's a plaque, I believe, in the town. Jack's mom's aunt, we had a birthday party for her there one year. And I was like, God, this town looks familiar. And they're like, oh, it's the town from Groundhog Day. I'm like, what? But it was also filmed in Rockford, and the quarry scene that was filmed in Rockford. And then the opening scene and the Punxsutawney sign were filmed in Algonquin, Illinois.
And they took a lot of things from Punxsutawney, like the main stage. They had to recreate it to look exactly like it. The crazy thing is the people from Punxsutawney actually had to have a few members there to make sure they got accuracy.
It says Harold Ramis picked Woodstock because he felt it had a better looking town center. And it also says that Woodstock still hosts a Groundhog Day event every year, and visitors can do a walking tour of the filming locations.
Might as well.
I mean, if the budget's kind of, what did you have for a budget? Did you look up a budget?
So the budget was $14.6 million, and then on opening weekend it made $12.5 million. Worldwide it grossed $71.1 million.
See, I had the box office, it had $105 million is what it made.
Oh, wow.
Who knows? It made its money back plus some. I like it because it has Chris Elliott, who's one of my favorites. I love Chris Elliott, and I love the guy that plays is it the mayor that pulls?
That's Bill Murray's brother, Ryan Doyle Murray.
He is one of my favorites. He's in, which will be part of my rating, a movie that I love that has Chris Elliott in it. But he's also in The Misadventures of Flapjack, which is a cartoon. And it's about this little Flapjack. I guess he's a kid, and his best friend is a whale and a pirate with one leg and a hook for an arm.
Never heard of it.
It's clearly his voice, and I even looked it up, and it's him. So it's just a fun, weird...
We've also mentioned him in a past episode, our Christmas episode, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He was the boss.
Yeah, and he's in a ton of stuff. I mean, you know him. You see a lot of the people in this movie that are maybe bit characters or have bigger than bit parts, like the insurance salesman.
Ned! Ryerson! Needle-nosed Ned the head. Come on, buddy. Case Western High.
You've seen him before. So you see a lot of people. I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go into the movie, but Bill Murray gets stuck in this time loop where he wakes up every day in this town, and it takes him a little while to figure out what's going on.
Well, I don't even know if he really knows about it. He's kind of a jackass, though.
Kinda.
Well, he's one of the biggest jackasses in Weatherman history because he doesn't really want to do the the Groundhog Day feature, but he does it anyways. He's trying to get somewhere else. He's pretty full of himself. After the first day goes by, and he's in the second day, and he's like not sure what happened. Like maybe he thought it was a fever dream or something, but then things happen. And then the third day, he's really scared, and he doesn't know what's going on. I mean, he's starting to notice things. That third day might have been where he starts telling Rita that he's lived this day over and over, like a couple times.
Yeah, and he ends up going to the doctor and having some tests done.
Which is played by Harold Ramis, the neurologist.
And then he goes to the psychiatrist,
who has an alcoholic now.
He's more of a marriage counselor. And I think after he leaves, the psychologist needs a psychologist. It continues going, and every day something different. At one point, he kidnaps the groundhog.
There was a point, so it kind of goes first where there's the one really beautiful woman in town, and he gets to know her, and then he sets something up. But he keeps saying Rita's name with her, and then he starts showing an interest in Rita, finds out things about her for days on end. But when she rejects him, that's when he goes on his downfall. He kidnaps the groundhog.
Yeah, he becomes suicidal. The first lady, he's pretty much a womanizer, I think, in general.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he gets the first girl to sleep with him, and then he's like, well, it worked with her, I'm going to try it with Rita. Well, and then he tries it with Rita, doesn't work, so he gets slapped.
There's a montage of being slapped.
And I can't remember, does he go from that to stealing the money from the bank, and then he becomes suicidal because he gets bored, maybe?
Because then he buys this really expensive car, and he's dressed up as Clint Eastwood and goes to a movie with a girl in a maid's outfit.
At some point, he becomes suicidal because he's distraught. He's like, what do? I like this girl. I don't even know if he liked her at that point, but he's can't get what he wants from her, so he becomes suicidal. I think he even tells her, today's the day, or some shit like that. He kills himself for steps in front of a truck and puts a toaster in the bathtub with him.
Hey, we never joke about that, do we?
He goes and takes the toaster, and the lady's at the bed and breakfast, would you like some toast? He just takes the whole damn thing. At one point, Rita sees him dead, who Rita is played by Andie MacDowell.
Great actress. One of my favorite ones is when he's with the drunk guys from the bowling alley, and they go on a car chase with the cops chasing them. They go on the railroad tracks, and he plays chicken with the train, crashes the car. The cops come out, go by the window, and he starts ordering food. And the guy in the back goes, can we get flapjacks? Bill goes, is it too early for flapjacks?
And it's the cops aren't giving you food. No, they're not going to give you food.
Then he dies, and he just thinks he's a god. I think that's where he starts talking to Rita and tells her he's a god, and he knows everybody in the restaurant and everything that's going to happen.
And then something happens where he flips this switch where he decides to be a better person.
I can't remember exactly what the point is, but he starts doing kind acts. I think it's somewhere where Rita rejects him for the last time, or he convinces her enough to stay somewhere in there. The biggest one, the old man, the old homeless man. He starts taking an interest because he sees him every day. The guy's begging for money. He gives him money at first, and then he finds out that the guy died. And so he tries to prevent the guy's death. But then he finds out that you can't prevent death. It's inevitable when your time comes, which I think is a big theme in this movie, is about living your life to the fullest. We never know when we're going to go, and just kind of got to do your best.
And I'll get to this when I get to my rating, but I don't want to ruin my rating. But yeah, the theme of living your life to the fullest and doing the things that you maybe enjoy or you're interested in, like he learns how to play the piano. That was funny because he offers a lady $1,000, and she's like, well, I'm with a student, I got $1,000. Here she pushes a student out, and the girl's like, what the hell? Not my favorite Bill Murray movie.
It's my second favorite, and I'll get to my favorite one later on here.
I'd have to look at the list, but I don't think it's maybe in my top 3. Nah, probably not.
So in 2006, it was selected to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress.
I mean, it's a significant film. It's fun.
It's actually only one of 4 of Bill Murray's movies that are in there, with Ghostbusters, and then I can't remember the other 2.
Scrooge, it isn't in there?
Nope.
Caddyshack, probably?
No, I thought The Life of Steve, what is that? The underwater one.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but I've always wanted to watch that one. Have you ever seen that one?
I think I watched it once, didn't like it much. It's not my kind of a movie.
It seemed kind of odd, but I could see where it would be more of a type of movie that would get in there. So do you want to talk more about it, or you want to rate the damn thing? You got any more? You got any trivia or anything about it?
So it was inspired by Anne Rice's book, The Vampire Lestat, because of the immortality. Some other stats. Tom Hanks turned down the role. He reasoned that given his tendency to play good-hearted people, he couldn't do it. He couldn't be an asshole. After Hanks turned it down, Michael Keaton was offered, but he declined. He didn't understand the movie, so he couldn't take it. And then in 2014, in Entertainment Weekly, he claimed that he regretted the decision not taking the role.
And then he did Birdman because he understood that fucking film.
I guess I didn't. Another up and coming star, but it took a while, was Michael Shannon in this movie, where he plays a newlywed, and you might recognize him in The Shape of Water, the Batman vs Superman. He was Zod.
I knew he looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out who he was.
Yeah, I know, he's so young. Like, he had to be early 20s at best. Harold Ramis and Bill Murray did have a falling out during this movie. And part of it was because Bill Murray was going through a divorce of his first wife. So that kind of threw things in a pickle for those two. They did reconcile their differences, but it took until 2014 when Harold was dying. I don't know if you remember the song during it, like plays at the beginning and at the end. It's called Weatherman. It goes like, I'll be your weatherman or something like that.
If you don't believe me, take me by the hand. Can't you feel you warming up? Yeah, I'm your weatherman.
Harold Ramis actually co-wrote that song with George Fenton. I watched the commentary track on, I think it was like the 15th anniversary, and Harold's on there, and he's just talking about it. He goes, "Oh, did I mention that I co-wrote that song?" It's like, yes, you did, Harold, but we love it.
Probably 15 times in the commentary track he said he did.
See, I think this movie has a huge significance. I could think of two big things that it influenced directly. Like, there's no way you can say it didn't. The horror movie Happy Death Day, that's most blatant, and not likely it was trying to steal it. It was being pretty blatant about it, I thought. And then there's an episode of the TV show Supernatural, season 3, episode 11, called Mystery Spot, where Sam has to witness Dean, his brother, die over and over again. And they mentioned Groundhog's Day. When Sam's trying to explain to Dean what's going on, he just says Groundhog's Day. Dean knows automatic.
He's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, love that show.
I've never watched an episode of it.
It got kind of girly, but
that's all right.
That's my thing, maybe.
They were heartthrobs, so they had to get like the girly part on there, right? They drove a black car and were
rugged,
young, rugged men, unlike us, right?
Well, I'm getting a little rugged. I don't know.
So what do you think? Anything else?
I have a recommendation because Groundhog Day is one of my feel-good movies when I don't feel good about life. There's two movies I turn on, and they both have Bill Murray. Scrooged is the main one. Every time I watch that movie, I get a little tear in my eye at the end when the little boy goes, "God blesses everyone." And it's the first time he says words in years. That is my recommendation if you like Groundhog Day.
Well, I think if you like Groundhog Day, you watch Happy Death Day.
Yeah, watch that one too. It's fun.
I mean, that's the closest to this film that you would get, right?
I just find this film that there's a lot of comedy. There's enough romance in there, but I think it has a deeper meaning. Harold Ramis received letters from Buddhists and others praising that his film had a take on reincarnation. And he even received letters from the Jesuits praising his portrayal of spiritual themes in the film.
That's interesting. I did not see that anywhere, but yeah, that's interesting that first off, the Buddhists saw the movie.
I guess maybe they heard something about it, had to go into town, travel about 100 miles.
Yeah, and go watch it. And the Buddhists are in Japan or China or India.
China area, maybe India, somewhere in between.
I don't know. Maybe one of them went to the store or to town to get something and heard about it.
It's a feel-good movie. At some point in the commentary, I believe Bill said this was one of his favorite movies that he's ever made. It maybe has changed since whenever that point was.
I mean, it's made quite a bit since this movie, so.
But I'm not sure why it would be one of his favorites if he was getting a divorce toward the movie.
Maybe his life was better after the divorce. Most people's are, right?
I don't know. I've never been married.
So what do you think? Should we rate it?
Yeah, let's rate this.
I mean, it's one of your favorite films, so I'll let you go.
So yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's 5 out of 5. Groundhog's biting Bill Murray because he got bit twice during the movie.
So I have 2 ratings because the first part of this movie, the first hour, I was bored out of my fucking mind. I don't remember this movie being this bad or this slow or this uninteresting. So the first part of the movie, I gave a 3 out of 5. Cabin Boy is more fun. You know the movie Cabin Boy with Chris Elliott? And then once it got to like the hour, once Bill Murray started being an asshole, like getting past the womanizing stuff, where he's just an asshole to everybody, I went from that point forward, which was about an hour into the film. It's about an hour and 40 minutes or so?
Yeah, hour 41, I believe.
From that point forward, I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was just like 2 movies to me. I did not care about him wanting to womanize all these people. It just was uninteresting and didn't fit Bill Murray as an actor to me. I know him more of the sarcastic asshole like he is in Scrooged. I liked it better if maybe he was the asshole to start the movie and became the nice person as the movie went on, or like he was the asshole to start out with, then became the womanizer and got rejected. That would have felt better to me, or maybe I would have liked it better.
Well, that's kind of what happened, though. He was the asshole.
Yeah, but it was all about, he wants to sleep with this lady. He wants to get Terry to, or was that her name, Terry?
Oh, Rita
to fall in, see, I can't even get her name right. Rita to fall in love with him. And then he got to being just a straight asshole. And I was like, well, this is more fun. This is more, I'm laughing more. I'm heading more interested to see what happens. Because it's been several years since I've seen this film. So I wanted to see what happened. Because I'd forgot. So if I wait long enough, it'll be like I'm watching it all over again. So that, yeah, 3 out of 5 for the first hour and 4 out of 5 for the last 40 minutes. So it jumps from a 6 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 just with that little switch of how Bill Murray's acting.
You know who else has Bill Murray asshole-like acting?
Besides me?
Yeah, besides you. Our podcast network, the PFPN. So let's hear from them.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now that we've heard from our podcast network, let's get into the news. So we're looking at February of 1993. And on February 3rd, a federal trial of 4 police officers charged with civil rights violations and a videotape beating of Rodney King begins in Los Angeles, California.
I missed that. I didn't go back quite that far.
And then on the February 10th, did you go back that far? Well, I guess that would have been right a couple days before. But Michael Jackson talks to Oprah Winfrey on ABC, and it drew an astounding 39.3 rating of 56 shares. 90 million people watched Michael Jackson talk to Oprah. On February 11th, President Clinton selects Janet Reno to be the first female U.S. Attorney General.
On February 5th, R. James Woolsey becomes the 16th director of the CIA, and we still don't know who the hell he is. February 8th, General Motors sues NBC, alleging that Dateline NBC program had rigged 2 car crashes to show that the 1973 to 87 GM pickups were prone to fires. NBC would later settle out of court and apologize to GM.
Well, if we're talking about lawsuits, what about on February 23rd, when Gary Coleman wins a $1.2 million lawsuit against his parents for high fees? They charge their kid fees?
Oh, was that like the very first emancipation?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Across the pond on February 12th, Merseyside County, it's a county in northwest England, 2 10-year-old boys, Robert Thompson and John Venables, abducted, tortured, and murdered a 2-year-old boy, James Patrick Bulger. Thompson and Venables were charged on February 20th, so it didn't take very long. They were charged with abduction and murder. They were found guilty on the 24th of November. This made them the youngest convicted murderers in modern British history. They were sentenced to indefinite detention at Her Majesty's pleasure and remained in custody until a parole board decision in June 2001, where they recommended the release on a lifelong license at age 18. I didn't quite understand what that meant, but
Her Majesty's pleasure? Is that a prison?
it's a British thing. Yeah, I'm guessing that she could have pardoned the boys at some point.
No, if they're killing people at 10, I think I want them.
Hell yeah.
On February 15th, Howard Stern radio show begins transmitting into Rochester, New York on WQI 95.1 FM. He's still on, so I mean,
I think so, yeah.
30 years. On February 26th, the World Trade Center bombing of 1993. A truck bomb explodes in a parking garage at the World Trade Center at 12:18, killing 6 and injuring over 1,000 in what was the deadliest act of terrorism perpetrated on U.S. soil at that time.
Did they say who did it? I can't even remember.
I don't even remember. I mean, after, 9/11, people kind of forget that happened.
Let's go to movies. The number one, of course, was Groundhog Day. Then we had a movie called Summersby at number 2. And then the Disney classic Aladdin.
Aladdin was number 1 from the 18th of January, but it had already been out for like 7 or 8 weeks, and it went number 1 for a couple weeks. And then Loaded Weapon? The hell's Loaded Weapon?
With Emilio Estevez, it was a spoof of Lethal Weapon.
It was number 1 for 1 week in between Aladdin and Groundhog Day. That was early in February before Groundhog Day came out. And the weekend Groundhog Day come out was a 4-day weekend, February 15th. What would be the holiday there?
I mean, Valentine's Day is the only thing, and I don't know if it's really celebrated. You had asked me to look up horror of each year. Some of the big horror of 1993. One of my favorite franchises, Leprechaun, came out in 1993. Of course, Jennifer Aniston, who will not claim this movie, Hocus Pocus, which is a fun Disney movie, the Stephen King's Needful Things, and the classic Jason Goes to Hell.
My favorite of the 4.
This might be your favorite sequel out of this franchise, but Return of the Living Dead 3. No? Which one's your favorite?
Return of the Living Dead.
No, I mean, but of the franchise, what sequel is your favorite?
Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, wow. You just stay with this.
It's a sequel because it's a return of the living dead. Because they left and then they came back. Yeah, so the Return of the Living Dead is a sequel of Living Dead. Which one? I don't know.
I don't know.
Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Dead, All the Dead.
One of my favorite B horror movies, Ticks, with Clint Howard, Seth Green, and Alfonso Riberas, or is it Ribera? The guy that does the dance.
The Carlton. Let's do TV next. Top TV shows in 1993. 60 Minutes is number 1. What do we got? Home Improvement, Seinfeld, Roseanne, Grace Under Fire, Coach, Frasier. Here's one we hear a lot. Monday Night Football, Murphy Brown, and the CBS Sunday Movie.
I didn't remember CBS having one. I always remembered ABC.
And then some TV news. I don't know if you have any TV news. On January 11th, so early in the year, but this is very significant in pop culture, Monday Night Raw airs its first episode live from the Grand Ballroom at Manhattan Center in New York City.
This is Monday Night Raw, live from New York City,
That's
and
right.
I've got to be in there to host it.
No, you're not.
No, what do you mean, no?
Can't get in. I'm sorry.
What do you mean I can't get in? I can get in. I can buy a ticket.
No, there are no tickets left. It's sold out in there. They're jammed to the
Well,
rafters.
then show me the press gate so I can get through here.
I didn't make up the rules here. I didn't
What do
know
you mean you
anything
didn't
about
make up the rules?
On the USA Network, in the main event, The Undertaker defeats Damien Demento.
Oh.
No idea who the hell that is. February 6th, Dana Carvey makes his final appearance as a cast member on Saturday Night Live. By the end of the season on May 15th, Chris Rock would also make his final appearance as a cast member of SNL. February 10th, Fox gets a full-time home in Grand Junction, Colorado when KFQX airs for the first time. So I don't know if that's Fox's first full-time station.
Should we get into some music? February 7th, the actress Carmen Electra releases her self-titled debut album, Carmen Electra, and I'd never heard a song from it. I have no clue what's on there. I didn't even really want to look it up. February 19th, Happy Nation debut studio album by Swedish pop group Ace of Base is released. So the titled album is Happy Nation. I didn't know what the album was, but I think I saw the sign was on that one. And then some of the number one songs of that year, the biggest one was R&B and then the pop rock charts. Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You.
8 weeks.
A long time. Great song too.
It was better by Dolly. They're both equally as good.
It gained more popularity with Whitney than Dolly. In the UK, the number one was No Limit by Two Unlimited. I don't know what that song is. Number one country, Can I Trust You With My Heart by Travis Tritt.
Don't know that one either.
I know that one. Number one alternative, The Devil You Know by Jesus Jones. Now, I've heard of Jesus Jones a lot when I was a kid, but I never heard a single song of his.
January 31st, so a little earlier in the year, Michael Jackson plays a halftime show at Super Bowl XXV2. So that's what? 2040 52?
No, we're in the 50s. XXV2, that'd be 27.
The performance is a success ratings wise, and that's when the NFL started signing like big name people to play the Super Bowl.
Oh, cool.
Or, like to bring ratings to the halftime show.
Because they basically it was just like a freaking parade before, wasn't it?
Like a band maybe. And then on February 2nd, Frito-Lay is court ordered to pay $2.5 million to singer-songwriter Tom Waits for using the distinctive voice song style in a radio advertisement. And then on the 35th Grammy Awards in Los Angeles, hosted by Gary Shandling. You remember him?
Yeah, he had his own show.
Yeah, Eric Clapton wins 6 out of the 9 nominations. And then the number one rap song at that time was Informer by Snow, which reached 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on February 27th.
Informer, you know, say that I'm a stormy, I go blam. I like you bum bum down. Take the man that say that I'm a stormy, stab somebody down the lane. I like you bum bum down.
Still don't understand what he was saying.
No idea. Informer. Bada bada bano, a licky boom boom, yeah. That, yeah, he's a licky boom boom something. That's all I got for news. For music, what about sports?
February 6th, Riddick Bowe TKOs Michael Dokes in one, I don't know if it was one round for a heavyweight boxing title.
Probably.
Guy was a monster.
Also on February 6th, the 44th NHL All-Star Game in Montreal. Wales beats Campbell 16-6 with MVP Mike Gertner of the New York Rangers. He's a right winger. 16 is, it's the All-Star Game though, so they don't really play defense. And then the next day was the Pro Bowl game in Aloha Stadium in Honolulu, where the AFC beats the NFC 23-20 with Steve Tasker, who was a Buffalo Bill.
As the MVP.
He was a wide receiver. He played mostly special teams, though. That's what he was more known for.
I got a few kind of Olympic-like sport news. On February 11th, Irina Privolova of Russia runs world record 60-meter indoor at 6.92 seconds in Madrid. That record still holds for indoor track. February 13th, Merlene Otte of Jamaica runs the world record 200-meter indoor at 21.87 seconds at Stuttgart, Germany. Also that day, Sergei Bubka of the Ukraine pole vaults indoor record of 6.14 meters, which I looked it up. It's 20 feet, 2 inches. That is some leaps for a white dude.
Well, he's got a pole vault. And then I had on February 14th in the 35th Daytona 500, Dale Jarrett racing for Joe Gibbs, who was a football coach of I think he was the Washington Redskins at the time. He wins the Daytona 500. And on February 6th in the 43rd NBA All-Star Game in Salt Lake City, Utah, the West beats the East 135-132 in overtime with MVPs Karl Malone and John Stockton.
Stockton's my favorite.
Well, he never won a championship.
Well, he got close a couple times. Him and Hornacek.
Him and Malone? What do you mean?
Jeff Hornacek, the other white boy.
Yeah, well, that's probably why they didn't win.
Probably. I got some birthdays and deaths. So some birthdays. On February 7th of 1993, David Dorfman, you wouldn't know him by the name, but he's an American actor. He was the little boy in The Ring 2, and then the 2003 Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jennifer Beal. He was born in Los Angeles, California.
I still don't know who he is.
You don't?
No.
Have you ever seen The Ring?
Yeah, it was awful.
Oh, boy.
I'm trying to watch a fucking movie and this girl's coming out of my TV. Quit fucking around. I got shit to do. I ain't got time for you to be crawling out of my damn TV. Kick her in the face and change the channel.
Then on February 19th, Victoria Justice, she's an American actress. She was in The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Lola Martinez, and Zoe 101. She was born in Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah, and she's probably more well known for being on a show with Ariana Grande.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she was on Justified, or I don't even remember what the name of the show. It was a Nickelodeon show, and Ariana Grande was on the show, and it was supposed to be like she was the lead, but of course Ariana Grande's way more famous.
By the time this comes out, she's already had the movie Wicked come out.
And there's another one, I guess, and it's going to be 18 hours long.
Okay, so some deaths. On February 6th, the great Arthur Ashe, the American tennis player, dies of AIDS-related and pneumonia at 49.
Oh, wow, he was young.
Does ESPN have an award named after him?
I believe so, yeah. They have an Arthur Ashe Award, and there's the Arthur Ashe Foundation.
This one might get you. February 18th, Kerry Von Erich, the American professional wrestler, and then the Von Erich family died. He was born in 1960, so I think he just missed his 33rd birthday. That was a cursed family.
Yeah, have you ever seen that movie, The Iron Claw?
I have not seen The Iron Claw, but I've seen the episode, The Dark Side of the Ring, where they talk about the Von Erichs.
Watch The Iron Claw. Even if you know the friggin' story, it's amazing that this is a true story. It's mostly true. There's some stuff that's left out, and there's even more deaths in real life than they put in the movie.
And one last one. I don't know if you remember this song, but February 18th, Patrick Waite, he was a British reggae rock bassist, sang the song Pass the Dutchie.
Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun. Give me the music, make me jump on.
He died at the age of 24.
Wow. I guess he passed the Dutchie too much, huh? So what do you got for top toys?
So top toys, there was this Talk Boy cassette recorder that Home Alone 2 made famous. You had some Mighty Morphin Power Ranger action figures that were pretty hot.
Barbie dolls.
I got one Barbie doll, the 30th anniversary Midge doll, so the best friend.
Yeah, and the Barbie doll Dream Motorhome was released in 1993. And of course, the Barbie doll Christmas doll, what made Barbie a Christmas doll every year for, I think it's still going on now. They make a Christmas doll every year, don't they? And then I saw Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, of course, Thunderbird's Tracy Island toy.
I don't remember that.
And then, of course, the Talk Boy, which was created after a letter writing campaign from fans. They're like, we want this toy. Like, why isn't it being made? So they wrote letter after letter after letter, and then they finally made it. And then it could play your voice, slow it down, speed it up.
Such a simple thing to make, too, you would think.
I just have to make a Walkman, fix it a little bit, and change it up.
Then there was the battle of the home video game consoles. They didn't come out that year, but that Christmas, they were still fighting it out. It was the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis.
I think Beanie Babies were pretty popular that year.
That actually came out that year.
Oh, really?
The Ty Beanie Babies from Ty Warner. The original was, there was 9 of them. There was Legs the Frog, Squealer the Pig, Spot the Dog, Flash the Dolphin, Splash the Whale, Chocolate the Moose, Patty the Platypus, and Brownie the Bear. That was later renamed Cubby, and Pincer the Lobster, which some tags misprinted Punchers.
And I would imagine back then you could, if you had one of the originals for a couple of years, you could probably pay for a new car or new house or something. But now I don't, maybe the originals go for a lot, but a lot of them you can find like at a thrift store for $2 or $1 or $1.
There was over 822 types of Beanie Babies, with 144 of them having multiple variations.
Yeah, and we have a couple like the Ghost. We have one of those, and maybe Finley might have a turkey or something like that, but we don't have a lot of them.
There was some fashion news then, because the big thing in the 93 was the grunge look, baggy, ill-fitted, and sometimes tattered clothing that de-emphasized the body silhouette. Men wore loose t-shirts, oversized hoodies, a flannel shirt, slouchy jeans, faded denim jackets, droopy beanies, corduroy work jackets, and shorts. The women, almost the same thing, but it was flannel shirts, combat boots. Women loved their combat boots in the 90s. Oversized sweaters, plaid plaid skirts, and graphic tees.
I don't know that I wore any of that.
I was too poor.
I know the average gallon of gas in the United States in 1993 was around $1.16.
Woohoo!
I wish we could get that now, but it's almost $3. It's hanging around $3 where I live. Any good Groundhog Day jokes?
I got a couple here.
I would like to hear some because I keep hearing the same one over and over again.
Do you? What's a sex-addicted groundhog's favorite thing?
I have no idea.
Molasses. Molasses.
Okay. That's weird. Mine was better. I stole yours because I had it wrote down too, and that you didn't even know it was a joke. So that's all we have about Groundhog's Day. So watch the last 40 minutes of the movie because it's better.
Whatever. Watch the whole thing. Feel good about yourself. Be good to each other.
I felt better after the last 40 minutes. Don't forget to like and subscribe to The Wrong Podcast Died. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast because that's how you'll find The Wrong Podcast Died.
That's right.
And Generational Trauma and Appendages and Salute the Shorts on our YouTube channel.
Indie Spotlight.
And who knows what else we may or may not have by then. But yeah, you can keep up with all things spooky there and here and everywhere. And sometimes it'll feel like deja vu.
Oh, did you just say that earlier?
Say what earlier?
I don't know what we're talking about. And as they say in the old communication of Swede, until ye, ex nay, I'm tay.
What is that, Pig Latin or some shit?
That marks the end of our broadcast day here at The Wrong Podcast Died. Our transmission is powered by a frequency of 800 watts. We will resume our usual programming in 2 weeks. Until then, we bid you good night.